Welcome back to the sequential Zohar series. Today we are in Bereshit A, chapter 10, and the teaching is called The Two Great Luminaries. On the surface, this chapter is about the fourth day of creation, the sun, the moon, and the stars. But the Zohar is never only talking about the sky. It is talking about us. It is talking about how light moves through a person, how comparison can shrink a soul, and how something that feels rejected can become the very place where holiness is built. So let's begin simply. The Torah says that Elohim made the two great luminaries, the greater luminary to rule the day and the lesser luminary to rule the night. The Zohar pauses on that phrase, two great luminaries. Not one great and one small at the beginning, two great ones, two lights standing in fullness. In the language of Kabbalah, these two lights are Zeir Anpin and Malchut. Zeir Anpin is the upper channel of divine flow. Malchut is the vessel, the kingdom, the world where that light becomes real, visible, and lived. One is like the source of illumination. The other is like the place where illumination is received and expressed. And at first, the Zohar says, they are joined. They are balanced. They are together in one greatness. That is an important place to start. Because so many of us begin the story of our own life from the moment we feel reduced. We start from the wound. We start from the comparison. We start from the moment when somebody else seemed brighter, louder, more noticed, more successful, more loved. But the Zohar starts earlier. Before the wound, there is wholeness. Before the comparison, there is connection. Before the moon becomes the lesser light, she is also called great. That is the first teaching for today. Your smallness is not your origin. Now, the chapter turns to the moon. The moon looks at the sun and becomes unsettled. She feels shame beside the sun. The Zohar gives her a voice. In plain language, she is asking, how can I shine next to that? How can my little candle matter in the middle of the day? That line is painfully human. Maybe you have had that feeling. You have a gift, but then you see someone with a bigger platform. You have wisdom, but then you hear someone speak more fluently. You are building something slowly, and then somebody else seems to leap ahead overnight. Suddenly, the question is not, what am I here to give? The question becomes, why am I not them? That is when light turns into comparison. The Zohar's synopsis names this as the root of hatred without reason. Not hatred because someone hurt us, not hatred because justice requires a boundary. Hatred without reason means I look at another person's light as though it has stolen mine, even when it has not taken anything from me. The sun shining does not actually erase the moon, but envy tells the moon that it does. And that is the trap. Envy makes another person's blessing feel like an accusation. Their success becomes a mirror that says, "You are behind." Their beauty says, "You are lacking." Their peace says, "You are failing." Their growth says, "You are too late." But that is not the voice of wisdom. That is the voice of separation. In the story, the moon diminishes. She no longer has light of her own in the same way. She reflects the light of the sun. On one level, this sounds like a punishment. On another level, it is a spiritual diagnosis. When we disconnect from unity, our light becomes indirect. We can still shine, but something has shifted. We are no longer shining from simple alignment. We are shining through longing, through memory, through repair. And that is why this chapter is not only cosmic, it is practical. Every time I compare myself to someone else, I reduce my own access to my light. I move from presence into measurement. I stop asking, "What is mine to do?" I start asking, "How do I rank?" That is the beginning of diminishment. Now, the Zohar links this to Zeir Anpin and Malchut. Again, do not get lost in the terms. Think of Zeir Anpin as the flow of higher light and Malchut as the world of embodiment, action, speech, relationship, and responsibility. Malchut does not create light in isolation. Malchut reveals light by receiving it, shaping it, and bringing it down. That is not weakness. That is holy function. A candle does not become meaningless because it receives flame. A mirror does not become worthless because it reflects. A cup is not inferior because it holds water rather than producing water. A field is not less sacred because rain comes from above. The receiving vessel is the place where blessing becomes useful. So when the Zohar says the moon receives from the sun, we should not hear she is nothing. We should hear relationship matters. Connection matters. Flow matters. The spiritual problem is not receiving. The spiritual problem is receiving with resentment or giving with superiority. When giving and receiving are united, there is harmony. When they are separated by jealousy, shame, control, or ego, the whole system suffers. This is why the Zohar moves from the two luminaries into day and night. The greater light rules the day, the lesser light rules the night. Day and night are not enemies. They are rhythms. Day reveals, night gathers. Day exposes form, night restores depth. Day is activity, night is intimacy. Day says, go out and build. Night says, come home and remember. And the chapter gives the feminine principle dominion at night. We should read that carefully. This is not a shallow statement about men and women in society. It is symbolic language about two spiritual modes. The masculine mode fills the house with flow and provision. The feminine mode organizes the house, distributes nourishment, and holds the hidden order of life. In other words, there is a time to pour out light, and there is a time to arrange the light so it can actually sustain someone. Some of us love the day work. We love output, visibility, teaching, posting, building, doing. But we neglect the night work. We neglect the quiet arrangement of the soul. We neglect the house inside us. We neglect the place where light is turned into food. And then we wonder why we feel empty, even while we are busy. The Zohar says the stars also have a role. The stars are like attendants of the night, small lights that remain when the main lights are hidden or transitioning. Spiritually, these are the small practices that keep the house alive before dawn. A short prayer, a kind message, a page of learning, a moment of restraint when you want to react, a breath before you speak, a blessing said with attention. These little stars do not look dramatic, but they prepare the morning. That may be one of the most encouraging teachings in this chapter. Not all light arrives as a sunrise. Some light arrives as a tiny point in the dark, and that point is enough to keep you oriented. Then the Zohar brings in the kingdom of David and the image of the rejected stone. Malchut, the kingdom, is connected to David. It is established, but not fully settled until the image of the human being is complete. There is a process. There is a delay. There is a part of holiness that looks unfinished before it becomes central. The rejected stone becomes the head of the corner. That image is so powerful because all of us have a rejected stone inside. A part of us we thought was too weak, too emotional, too quiet, too intense, too late, too wounded, too ordinary. We tried to build our life around it, hiding it in the corner, pretending it was not part of the structure. But in spiritual work, the rejected place is often the doorway. The part of you that felt small may become the place where compassion enters. The part of you that felt overlooked may become the place where you learn to see others. The part of you that envied someone else may become the place where you finally discover what you actually desire. That is the repair. Not to pretend we never feel envy, not to shame ourselves for comparison, but to use envy as a signal. Envy can be ugly when it becomes resentment, but envy can also reveal a hidden longing. It can show us where our soul wants to grow. The question is, what do we do next? If I see someone's light and I contract, I can attack them in my mind. I can minimize them. I can say they are not really that good. They just got lucky. They think they are special. I can turn their blessing into a threat. Or I can pause and say, what is this showing me? Do I want to create more bravely? Do I want to pray more honestly? Do I want to study with more discipline? Do I want to be seen? Do I want to serve? Do I want to stop hiding? That one pause turns jealousy into information. It turns comparison into instruction. It turns the moon's shame into the beginning of wisdom. The chapter also speaks about spirit and garment. It says the inner spirit is the true essence, and the body is like a garment. Now, some of this language in the ancient texts can sound sharp, especially when it talks about holy and impure forms. I do not want to use that language to rank human beings or turn a mystical teaching into social judgment. For this series, we are reading it inwardly. Inside each of us, there are forms of spirit and forms of garment. There are moments when our outer behavior clothes a holy intention. And there are moments when the garment is covering fear, ego, appetite, or confusion. The work is to ask, what spirit is wearing my words right now? What spirit is wearing my ambition? What spirit is wearing my silence? Because the outside action matters, but the inside spirit gives it its name. Two people can say the same sentence, and one sentence heals while the other wounds. Two people can give charity, and one gives from love while the other gives from control. Two people can be silent, and one silence is peace, while the other silence is punishment. The garment may look similar. The spirit inside is different. So the Zohar is asking us to become more honest about the inner light that animates what we do. Now, let's bring this down to a practice for the week. The next time you feel comparison rise, do not rush past it. Do not pretend you are too spiritual to feel it. Just notice it. Say to yourself, I am looking at the sun and feeling like a small candle. Then ask 3 questions. First, what light am I seeing in them that I also need to honor in myself? Second, what desire is being revealed here? Third, what is one positive action I can take today that reconnects me to my own light? That action should be simple. Send the message. Make the call. Study 1 paragraph. Clean 1 corner of your house. Apologize. Write the first sentence. Give someone credit. Bless the person you envy. That last one is especially powerful. Bless the person you envy is not because it is easy, but because it breaks the illusion that their light is your enemy. When you bless another person's light, you make room for your own. This is how we help reunite the sun and the moon inside us. This is how we bring Zeir Anpin and Malchut back into relationship. Higher light and lived action. Prayer and behavior. Intention and speech. Receiving and giving. Day and night. The Zohar says that through positive deeds and through removing jealousy, unity becomes possible. That is not abstract. It is daily. It is in how we react to someone else's success. It's in how we speak about people who shine. It's in whether we can receive without resentment and give without pride. The 2 great luminaries begin together. They separate through comparison. They return through conscious repair. So today, let the moon teach us. Do not despise your reflected light. Do not assume that needing connection makes you less holy. Do not turn someone else's brightness into evidence against yourself. And do not forget that your small practices, your stars in the dark, may be preparing a dawn you cannot see yet. The work is not to become the sun. The work is to stop hating the sun. The work is to remember that the whole sky needs more than one kind of light. As we close, take 1 breath and think of someone whose light has recently triggered you. Maybe a friend, a teacher, a sibling, a colleague, someone online, or someone from your past. Now, without forcing it, offer a simple blessing. May their light be used for good. And then add, may my light also be used for good. That is the repair in 1 sentence. Let that be enough for today, and let it become practice together. May the greater light and the lesser light become one in us. May day and night serve the same holiness. May the rejected stone in us become a cornerstone, and may we learn to shine without comparison, receive without shame, and bless without fear. This has been the Sequential Zohar series. Today's passage was Bereshit A, chapter 10, the teaching of the two great luminaries. Keep watching the sky within you, gently, patiently, and with courage today. I will see you in the next video. Shalom.